Sarah and Ann here at Winnie.
Hello.
You may have noticed we missed last week, I want to say. Sarah was in New York traveling, so she was having a great time with her family, so we didn't do a video. So this post we're going to talk about is actually from last week, but it was so great. We really wanted to bring it forward and talk about it in one of our videos, and we're going to do something a little different where, because Sarah was traveling, she didn't have close eyes on this post, doesn't know a lot of the answers that were in this thread, so we're going to do a little quiz session. And so the topic of the post is, when you're expecting a new baby, what are the things you absolutely must have versus the things everyone thinks you have but you actually don't need? And so I'm going to list some things that are commonly on, like the baby shower lists and that new parents feel like they have to get. Sarah's going to give her opinion on whether or not you must have that thing or you don't need that thing, and then we'll talk about what people in the thread said and get the real lowdown. Ready?
I have some strong opinions, so I'm excited to share them.
Sarah has strong opinions about everything, so this should be really entertaining. Okay, so item number 1 on the list is the baby monitor. What do you think?
Dun, dun, dun. I think it's a don't need. So typically when you think baby monitors, you think of an audio monitor. And for me, especially, we have a pretty small apartment. It's one level. And babies are really loud. So we didn't need a special monitor in our room to alert us to when our daughter was crying. You could hear it throughout the entire apartment. That wasn't a problem. I think my exception would be if you have like a multi-level house and the baby is on a totally separate floor than you, then an audio monitor would be useful. But if you're, in close quarters to the baby, you do not need a monitor. You will hear the baby for sure. We actually instead invested in a Nest Cam, which is a video monitor, which I really like because I can keep an eye on my daughter from my phone, when I'm not even there. And we still use it. My daughter's 2 now. So I would say save your money, don't buy the audio monitor, and instead put it towards something like a Nest Cam that sort of gives you eyes into the room or the house.
And you can use that as a security camera too, right?
Yes.
That's what they were originally for.
Gives me a lot of extra security when I have people in and out. I know what's going on, and they have a very wide lens, so you can just buy one and it covers a really broad area.
Yeah, we have a couple in our house too. I would highly recommend them. They're useful for more than just using as a baby monitor, which I really like. So let's see what people in the thread said. I think they were actually pretty split on the baby monitor issue. There were a number of people who said that they didn't think the video monitor, and I think by that they mean like the specialized baby monitor unit that has like a little screen in it, was all that important. And that's because of the overlap with technology like the Nest Cams, or maybe they just don't feel like they need the video feed. They know the baby's crying. They're going to go in and check on the baby. There were a few people who thought that the baby monitors were essential with the video feed, whether from a Nest Cam or from the monitor itself, for sleep training. And this is actually an interesting point. If you're a parent who's sleep training your baby, kind of one of the basic concepts is that the parents don't go in the room when the baby is like fussing and trying to sleep, because that tends to keep them awake. They want to stay up and play with mom and dad. So being able to check on them remotely is really important for the success of sleep training.
Yeah, but remember, for a newborn, you're not sleep training a newborn.
Right.
So this is if you want to get more mileage out of your monitor later on. But
Right.
Don't try sleep training a newborn baby.
And if your newborn is staying in your room with you, as is recommended, and a lot of people do, in the co-sleeper or in the crib in your room, you obviously don't need the monitor because the baby's right there. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So yeah, I would say that there were definitely people in the thread who thought you actually don't really need a baby monitor and would agree with Sarah.
Yes.
So 1 point for Sarah. Okay, so next on the list is the bottle warmer. What do you think?
I think this is a must-have. So we did a lot of bottle feeding early on. We didn't have a ton of success with breastfeeding. So we needed the bottle warmer to both heat up milk that I had pumped, also formula. It's just especially useful when you're trying to heat up the milk really quickly because, if you were to do boiling water, which is the other method, it just takes a long time to boil and then put the bottle in there. You're not supposed to use a microwave for heating up bottles. That's a big no-no. So we just found the bottle warmer was just so convenient for heating up bottles.
Now, did your baby not take cold milk? Was that an issue?
Later on she did. As a newborn, though, I don't think we even tried it. We wanted to, give her just the perfect temperature milk. And also for heating up frozen stuff, sometimes it's really, really cold. And so you had to sort of thaw it and then heat it up.
Yeah. That's interesting because I think the majority opinion in the group was that you don't need a bottle warmer, that they're entirely overrated. And I agree with it personally. Probably one of my earliest memories of life with my newborn son, my firstborn, was being up in the middle of the night. We had already gone through 2 different kinds of bottle warmers, and I think this is the problem with bottle warmers, is that they don't actually work. So he's screaming and hungry, and I have this bottle of cold milk from the fridge, and I'm trying to warm it, and the bottle warmer won't turn on, and it's either too hot or it's not, it takes 15 minutes to warm up the bottle, and the baby's hungry. And we used to do this really silly thing where we would pre-make the formula and put it in the fridge. So then it would have to be warmed up for him to eat it. But with our second child, we just made the formula then when he needed it, and it was room temperature, and he was completely fine with it. So we didn't have to heat it up at all, and it was such a relief to not have to deal with that stupid bottle warmer anymore. So yeah, that is money I would not recommend you spend because I just don't think that they work that well.
Ours worked.
Which one did you have?
The Dr. Brown's bottle warmer.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't have that one. I had one that was attached to a baby food maker, and that one was always getting it too hot. And then we bought a really expensive specialized bottle warmer that just took forever. Yeah. And the baby was always so hungry by the
Dr.
time
Brown's,
it was done.
highly recommend that one. We're going to invest in one.
Okay, a related product that also came up, the wipe warmer.
All right, this one I am a steadfast don't need. We never even tried it. And I've actually heard from parents that do use a wipes warmer, you get your child addicted to it. And so then when you're out on the go and you don't have warm wipes, you have a problem and a screaming baby when you're wiping their butt. And we were always on the go. So I would recommend staying way far away from the wipes warmer. It'll just make your baby sort of reliant on it.
Okay. The thread definitely agrees with you on that one. I agree with you on that one. Yeah, totally unnecessary, and it'll take out space in your nursery, and they break, and they're not that reliable, and they only heat the top one wipe. So then you go down to get another wipe if it's a big blowout, and that one's not warm, and then the baby's upset. So yeah, just from the get-go, room temperature wipes, it's fine. That's another $20 you can save. Okay. The baby swing. What do you think?
So I was a don't need. I actually bought 3 different baby swings and bouncers that I had set up around my apartment. And my daughter actually didn't really care about any of them. I mean, we put her in there, she'd like it, but we could also just put her on the couch and she was just as happy there. And they took up a ton of space. They were annoying to assemble. Some of them were really expensive. So I will never buy one of those things again.
Yeah. I think the thread was pretty split on this one, actually. And I think that's because it really depends on the baby.
Right.
So, we all know some babies are colicky, and they're just all different. And some of them can be really, really hard to get to sleep anywhere other than mom. And I will always say, I don't think you need the really expensive motorized whatever thing for jiggling the baby. But both of my kids were pretty easy sleepers. They didn't have colic, and we never had to do sitting on a bouncing ball or any of that stuff. So if you've got one of those kids, then I think
Give it back. They get a different. Oh
yeah.
no, that's not the answer. Yes, get a swing for those.
Get a swing, but wait to get to know your baby before you go out and spend $150 on a motorized swing, because not all kids need them. Now, I will say that it was very common that people in the thread really valued something that let them put the baby down.
Yeah.
So if that's a swing or a bouncer or even just like a bassinet or a boppy pillow where the baby can lay down comfortably, those things are all really they're helpful, and you don't want to be having to hold the baby 100% of the time. You're going to have to get up and go to the bathroom sometimes. So having a place for the baby to sit is great. But, a lot of you will have a nursing pillow. That's one place you can put them. A simple basket. It's like a cheap solution. Or even just the car seat. The infant car seat is a great place to let the infant sit for a while. So you don't necessarily need a specialized solution for that, but having a place to put the baby is important. So I'm going to say that is a point for you, because I think a lot of people did mention that they didn't need the really expensive swing unless they had an especially difficult baby.
Yeah, and make sure if it's something, I will just add, if it's something you're planning to leave the baby in for more than 15 minutes, that it's actually certified to be safe for them to sleep in. A lot of the car seats, you are actually not supposed to leave a baby in for an extended period of time because you want them to lie flat for breathing. So just be careful with that and make sure you read the fine print.
Mm-hmm. All right. So diaper genie, or diaper pail, I should say. So the specialized thing with the bags that's supposed to reduce odor.
Must have. We still use it to this day. Diapers stink. I think you definitely want something that is going to reduce the odor. Even though those bags cost extra than just putting in your regular trash pail, you'll actually save money, because if you put it in your trash, you would have to take out your trash every time. The diapers really do start to stink.
So you don't take out your trash frequently enough that, you would get the diapers out pretty quickly normally?
I think you got to take it right out.
So no exposure to the house at all?
No.
Okay.
I mean, especially once you start with formula or solids, the diapers start smelling like human poop, and you don't want that thing in your trash can for even a second. But in the diaper pail or diaper genie, you can leave it for half a day, even a full day sometimes, and just take it out when it's full. So you kind of reduce waste that way. At least you're not taking out your trash every time there's a poop. Babies poop a lot.
Yeah. This one actually surprised me, because I would agree with Sarah. We also have a diaper pail. We still use it. I couldn't even imagine life without it, honestly. Mm-mm. But a lot of people in the thread, probably the majority opinion in the thread, was that you don't need them. It's just kind of this unnecessary specialized piece of equipment. And I was so curious about this. I just couldn't imagine life without it. But I think a lot of people, they can either bag the diaper with a disposable bag and toss it in the trash, so it's still kind of contained. Or, they're taking their trash out pretty frequently, and so they feel like, or they can take the diaper straight to the outdoor trash if you have a trash can in your garage, so that it's not kind of sitting in your house. Or, this is interesting, some people actually will flush the solids. So once those solid poops are coming, they'll actually just flush them down the toilet, so then you don't have that sitting in any of your trash cans, and you can kind of save yourself having the extra pail and having to buy the bags by doing things that way, which was kind of an interesting solution.
Some people are not using disposable diapers, which is a whole different topic and a really interesting one.
True.
I never researched that in advance of having my daughter, but I think if I have another child, I will look into that, because it is much better for the environment.
Yep. All right. So I'm going to say that is a 0 for you, just because the thread was pretty...
The thread is wrong. I disagree with the thread. You do
pretty
need
clear.
a diaper.
You don't need the diaper pail. Okay. So the crib. Do you need the crib right away? What do you think?
Oh, God, yes. You need a crib. So we started off with a bassinet that was kind of like this special co-sleeper you could have right by the bed. We lasted one night with that before we moved my daughter to her own room in her crib. Actually, we kept her in the bassinet for a period of time in her own room, but then she was a real big baby, so she quickly outgrew that into the crib. So I would definitely advise having that crib, having it set up and ready to go. Even if you plan on using a bassinet in the very beginning, you will want the crib option very soon. Not everyone, but I think a lot of people have high hopes for sort of nestling with their baby all night and sleeping peacefully, but soon come to realize that it actually is nice to have the baby a little bit separate and to get some rest. So I highly recommend a crib.
Well, that's another one. I think you have differed opinions from the people in the thread. That was another common one that came up, was that the baby probably won't sleep in a crib for several months. So especially if you're in like a space constrained environment, you may not need to have that thing set up when you come home from the hospital, and you can wait a little bit to get it. And as long as the baby's sleeping in a safe place flat on their back, it almost doesn't matter where it is. Like, you could put them in a cardboard box, it would be fine. A lot of people said that they just had their baby sleep, either in the bassinet, or people with really fussy kids, like they were sleeping in some kind of chair that was like holding them upright a little bit for reflux. There are lots of situations with a newborn where like it will be hard to get them to sleep in a crib, so you may be using something else anyway, and you can kind of save yourself the space and trouble of setting it up for a newborn.
Yes, but you're going to have to set up a crib at some point. Yep. And the last thing you want to do is set one up when you're sleep deprived with a newborn.
Yep.
3 months in. It's much easier to do before the baby arrives.
And I definitely agree with Sarah on this, because so one thing I think that happens is that kids get used to sleeping in something other than the crib. And so like the sooner you get them used to that environment, it's like that actually pays dividends down the line, because she's absolutely right. You're going to have to move them to the crib eventually, and it'll go much smoother if they're used to sleeping, on their crib mattress, and that's where they're going to sleep for the next couple of years. So I would agree with Sarah, actually, that it's good to have it right away.
All right, I think this is the last one.
Last one. Okay. So the last one is swaddles, and there's actually 2 different kinds of them. So I'm curious what your opinion is on both of them. One is the like big kind of receiving blanket muslin swaddles, and then the other are the like pre-made like Swaddle Me, or like those kind of wrap solutions where all you have to do is Velcro the baby in. What do you think?
So I'm a must-have for both, actually. Swaddles aren't that expensive, so I think you can try out a couple different types. For us, we ended up loving the pre-made swaddles, because in the middle of the night, the last thing you want to do is like kind of remember how to wrap them perfectly, and you never do a good job, and they always like slither their way out. So the pre-made ones were nice, but the muslin, or however you say it, those swaddles that are just like receiving blankets. We have those, and we actually still use those, because when they grow out of the pre-made swaddles, you're kind of done with them. Yeah. It's over. But those sort of receiving blankets or muslin swaddles can be used, over the stroller or just as a light blanket. There's plenty of opportunities to get more use out of them. So yeah. I would buy a few of those too, because you'll use them down the road if you don't use them with a newborn.
Yep. I think people were generally in agreement about that, which actually surprised me a little, because I thought the pre-made swaddles with my firstborn, I didn't have any. I just used the muslin ones, and I was kind of like, oh, why do you need these fancy things? The kid outgrows them, and they're expensive, and they just seem unnecessary to me. But then somebody gave me some for my second child, and I was like, this is awesome. This is so much easier. And the baby didn't escape them as much. We just didn't. It was so much easier. The baby slept better. So I'm definitely on board with those, like the Swaddle Me's. And a lot of people in the thread thought, like, they actually called those out as an essential, that thing that really helped them. So receiving blankets, you'll probably end up with a million of, because people love to give them in baby showers. But don't miss out. Those pre-made swaddles are great. So don't be afraid to give that a try, especially if you're not, awesome with the baby burrito. And yeah, I would say that's a point for you because I think everyone agreed with that.
Cool. Well, looks like I won. So let's cut off the video now. But no, seriously, like there's still time to chime in. We'll link to the thread so that you can tell everyone your newborn must-haves and don't needs. So please share. You may help a fellow new parent.
Yeah. Great.
Thanks so much.
Thanks. See you next week.